Okay, cool. So let's go to the third topic. Let's talk about coding.
Let's go.
So the first question is that just as you mentioned, you are not falling in love with coding at very beginning.
Mm-mm.
So do you still have some memory about the first time you code? How you feel? What's the situation? High school, college?
Yeah, I basically kind of like I had never coded before college,
Same.
and I try to think back like where I even got the idea. I think it's just because someone told me to, basically like, yeah, I heard it's like a new thing, like you can make a lot of money. And
So you choose your major for computer science.
yeah, or like my aim, like there's prerequisites that you have to take and whatnot.
Same.
So I was like, sure, like I was kind of like, I'm sure I'll figure it out later kind of mindset, but I'll just go down this path. I liked computers and stuff, so I figured I'd probably be into it, and I like STEM. I knew I kind of wanted to go to STEM.
Mm-hmm.
But also like I didn't take it seriously at all at first. Like I thought it was kind of cool. Like my first class, I remember I thought it was kind of cool, but it was basically like it wasn't. It was like if statements and print statements in C++.
Okay.
Nothing advanced in C, like no like
Yeah,
class by reference.
I feel every computer science student started by C++ or C.
Actually, a lot in my school, I took the wrong class by accident. Every other CS student started with Python. I was in like an engineering track on accident. I just took the wrong class. So I was with all mechanical engineers, not CS students.
I believe that most Chinese university at that time, when I went to university, the freshmen start by C or C++.
I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about, but
okay.
But yeah, I just thought it was like kind of cool. Like
Uh-huh.
I just like, oh, I can make the console printouts and
Okay.
stuff. Like that's
Mhm.
kind of cool.
Okay.
And then the next class after that was when you actually started learning computer science. Like you learn about like recursion, algorithms, some object-oriented stuff.
Yep.
And I got destroyed by that class.
Because it's too complex.
Because the level of difficulty step from the one class to the next was huge, and I was still at the point of my school career where like I basically did not like pay attention in class. Like I had gotten into this mindset where like I can figure this out on my own. I don't need to listen to a lecture.
Very proud.
Yeah, I was like, that's how I went through all of school. Like I never paid attention in school, and I was able to just kind of get by.
You got it by yourself.
Yeah, and then that class, I realized like I'm screwed.
Okay.
And I guess that class is known as being like the weed out class because so many people want to do CS.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I had a friend.
Help you.
Shout out Brandon Chong, who on the final.
Okay, you can repeat. How do you spell his name?
How do you spell it? BRANDONCHONG. B
Okay.
Chong. Brandon
So
Chong.
someday when you become famous, yeah.
I still talk to Brandon every now and again.
Nice.
But anyways, yeah, he was actually at UW.
Seattle campus?
Yeah, doing programming, and he was way smarter than me, so at least way better at programming. So he actually saved me
for that class
on like the final assignment. I probably would have failed the class without him, and I don't even know what I would have done. But I did pass, and I was like, those two classes, those at the school I went to, it was those two classes are like just prereqs. If you pass them, you just had to pass them. You could go into the pre-major, which is 3 classes. And if you got a B average in those 3 classes, you're most likely going to get accepted into the major. So it was actually pretty, as long as you were doing your work, it was totally achievable to get into the major. It wasn't like at UW Seattle where you can have a 4.0 and get denied into the CS, which happens to a lot of people, I guess. But anyways, at that point, I still like was like, I don't know about like I was like, I suck at programming.
Have you think about
Uh-huh.
give up this major and change to another major because the algorithm class running?
I didn't have a plan B. And also I didn't want it. I don't like giving up.
Interesting.
I think that's a big reason why I'm still in programming today.
But let's talk a little bit about giving up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes maybe we work on a way we don't like. Giving up maybe give us opportunity to find a way, a path.
Yeah.
To better than us.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's tough though.
Yeah.
Because if I had given up after that one failure, basically, I never would have found that I actually loved programming.
Makes sense.
And it wasn't until the next class I took was it was like operating systems, or it was low-level C programming.
Oh yeah,
which was taught by this professor, Aaron Clausen.
One
of my favorite professors.
Nice.
But he was like, you could tell he just loved.
Passionate.
He was passionate about it.
Think like a Kevin. You can feel that he do what he does for passion.
Yeah, and they're actually very similar professors. Like you can tell they don't care about like being all professorly.
Yeah.
You know, they care about the topic they teach and teaching it to you, and that's all that matters to them.
And you can feel he enjoys the discussion.
Exactly.
When you work on some little master program.
Yeah. And it was during this class that was like, it was even a step of difficulty beyond the third one, or the last class that I failed. But I think at this point I was a little bit older, and like something changed in me where I actually started to care about school.
Maybe you got 20 years old.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know, because I think all throughout high school and the first couple years of college, like I was doing school to go to college. Like just because that was my path. But I wasn't doing it for myself. I was just doing it because
for your parents?
Maybe, or just because like I felt like that's what was expected of me. Like this
but you doesn't care which university you go?
Not really. I mean, I actually wanted to go to UW Seattle, but I didn't get in. And I'm actually really glad I didn't get in.
Why?
Because I think I would have hated my life there.
Why?
Because it's so competitive and
it is competitive.
I don't think I would have liked that. I definitely would have not have been able to do computer science there.
Oh, of course. I think that major is pretty competitive.
Yeah, it's like one of the top CS schools in the nation.
Yeah, of course. I agree.
But something changed. I don't know. All of a sudden, I wanted to do good in school just because I wanted to, not for any other reason other than that. Like I actually wanted to learn, not to get good grades, just because I don't know. It felt good to like be good at something.
Yeah.
And it was like a clicking point moment I feel like I had where I realized that programming is actually like a craft, like a skill you can hone, almost like an art form in a way.
Of course, you are creating something similar like craft.
Yeah, it's like you think of like a woodworker who like is like building a chair and is like meticulously crafting every piece.
Yeah.
That's how I felt, like meticulously crafting every function in my code.
Exactly.
And I remember like this professor was known about being very harsh on students' codes, like brutally honest.
Capital is awesome.
And so when you'd submit your C program to this professor, how he would grade it is he would do a video recording of him opening up your code, looking at it like for the first time, reading through it and just like ripping it apart. Like, oh no, you should do this is wrong. This is wrong. This should be like this. And then at the end, he's like, I'm feeling like a 7 or a 6 out of 10 on this one.
I guess, you can really distinguish people have passion about something.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, if I have a friend who learn arts, if he or she went to my bedroom, I feel
Yeah.
he or she will get mad.
Yeah.
Because I only care about convenience.
Yeah.
But they will say, okay, this looks bad.
Yeah, but in a way that's almost like it's like brutal, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Like they're not doing it to put you down. It's like you gotta know this.
Exactly. And they think because they love it so much, they hope you know that as well.
Yeah. And it was honestly really nerve-wracking opening this video knowing, okay, this is my code. I spent all this hours on it. He's gonna read through it line by line and give his like honest first reaction.
Very few professors can do that.
I've never had anything like that before. And like I remember the first one, like, yeah, he didn't like it at all.
He didn't like
my code. I got a bad grade on it.
Okay.
And I feel like I actually needed that.
Second year or?
At this point, I'm in my second year of college.
Gotcha.
Like halfway through my second year.
Gotcha.
But yeah, and then I was like, I feel like that was actually the motivation I needed, knowing that like, okay, that wasn't good enough. Like I need to do better. And Western actually had a pretty good environment for their CS students, like a CS lab that I felt like was actually like, I actually felt like I kind of had a cohort or like a group of students, because I remember we'd all be like, what the heck is this assignment? Like, how are we going to do this?
You started together.
Yeah, we were all like, everyone in the class knew this is a hard class. Like, no one knows what they're doing. So it was also like that, like coming together as a group, staying in the labs till like 11.
Have discussions.
Like, spending hours like fine tuning it. And then finally, I remember on the last one, opening the video and him kind of just going like, all right, it looks all right. And video over, and I was like, let's go. Like,
so which means
that was the moment. I was like, I'm in.
That means at the beginning of this class, you are bad.
Yeah.
From the professor. But at the end of this quarter, I think it's also quarter, right?
Yeah, it was quarter.
Yeah, actually just 10 weeks. Not very long, actually.
Yeah.
10 weeks, something like that. At the end of it, you finally the professor.
Yeah. And it wasn't even that I was like, I'm good at programming now.
Mm-hmm.
I realized what it takes to write good code. And
what's that?
It's basically like an unending determination to be able to fail over and over and over again, to be able to take solving 5 seg faults in a row that take an hour each and not stopping.
But you know what? The point is that if you don't have some kind of passion or just enjoy doing that, it's really hard to have determination.
Yeah.
For example, when writing novel, I really want to think about imagine the scenery I want to write. I'm really excited about that. But because what I wrote has some gap between what I want to show, and I have some friends I wanted to read it, and then they may give some feedback. Then I really want to merge their suggestion into my next chapter. But when I read code, I just want it to work. I feel I don't know how I think it came from.
Well, I think for coding, the enjoyment a lot of times is actually not from the actual writing of code. That part.
Wait, wrong.
Huh?
when the code runs successfully, that where it came from?
I think the enjoyment comes from being faced with a problem and then being able to use the skills and tools that you have, that you've learned to use as a programmer, and seeing yourself being able to use those and like actually seeing it work and you solving a problem. That's where, and when you see that, it was literally like the information from my brain I put into this computer solved kind of like a real world problem. That like rush of being able to see that, and even more so after you try an idea, it doesn't work, you go back, you refine it, and you iterate over and over and over again, and you like build up this like massive like piece of work that is like, this is my masterpiece, like I hope it works this time. And this see it finally work is just like, to me, that was what made it all worth it, and was like, bang, that feels good. That's that addictingness of programming.
So the secret is that you must enjoy solving problems.
Yeah.
That's the key thing, right?
100%.
Kind of like you use Lego to build something, right? There are different shape of Lego.
Yeah.
And you try to, let's say, to build a car or a building, whatever. And you try different parts. This one works, don't work, whatever. At the end of it, you use your own will. Put something together, then you get a strong enjoyment to finish it.
Yeah. I really see it like honing a craft, like being able to take something from your mind
into reality.
Even though it's digital, it's still reality. Still in the world, you know. It's
of course, because they can solve problem, right? Like this software.
Yeah.
It's reality, although it's digital, right? But it works. So the last question in this topic is that, what's your suggestion to people who don't enjoy coding?
Well, you know, I taught an intro to coding class, you know, so like I've seen so many students, and
so people who ask you as Professor Parker.
Actually, a lot of people did call me that, which is weird. I was like, don't call me that. That's weird. Professor Ford. Oh my, no, you can just call me Parker.
Okay.
But one thing that I found was common is people saying they're too dumb to program.
So they think that program must be some people smart.
You must be smart to program, which is not true at all.
I think everyone, or it's a very common, such feeling, stereotype.
Yeah.
When you don't good at something, you think you must have some talent or special skill to do that. You must be talented so you can do arts.
Right. But it's really no one's born knowing how to code. And I think also there's just some association between, like, I don't know, maybe it's from movies or TV shows of like, the code, you must be a genius, you know.
Oh yeah, I think that came from like movie.
Yeah,
I agree.
But it's really not like that at all. Like, if I can do it, like, anybody can do it. Like, you don't to say you're too dumb to code it's not a non-thing. It's not true. The advice I'd give is that you do have to think, if you have to face the realization that if you want to do this,
for your whole life,
it's going to be a huge time investment. Like, you have to be willing to go through the torture of debugging for hours and hours.
But you know what? When I think about, if I become a software developer engineer for my whole life, at this moment I feel miserable.
Yeah.
But if you say I become a writer for my whole life, I think okay, I'm really looking forward to that.
What are you trying to say about me? No.
No, what I want to say is that do you think that coding to become a good coder, you need some luck? I mean, everyone.
You need 100%. If I think a lot of people got into coding, myself included, because it's like it is basically a get rich quick scheme. If you learn how to code, you will make a bunch of money. And
Yeah,
I don't think that's necessarily true anymore. I think that's
changing.
It's changing a lot. And so if your idea to become a software engineer is solely a financial one to like try and make a lot of money, I think you will probably end up hating your life.
And feel disappointed.
And feel disappointed because you'll also probably graduate and not be able to find a job.
Even if you somewhat like coding.
Yeah, even if you like, that's just a sad truth right now.
Yeah.
But you have to, I don't know. I think you need to give it at least, if you're really thinking about it, give it a year of doing it. And after that year, if you feel zero enjoyment at all, then maybe it's not for you. If you've done it for a year and you have ever felt that like spark, and you'll know, but you still feel like you're bad, keep going and don't use AI.
I get a point.
Don't if you're learning how to code and you're using the AI code complete, knock it off. You'll never learn.
Yeah, because you don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
Right. Especially I think that because at this moment, let's say cursor or some tools can help you when it has bugs, and if you don't know how to debug it, it still have issues.
Yeah, and it takes the friction away of, okay, even if you're writing an if statement and in your mind you know what you want that to say, and then the autofill you can see like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's what I was gonna say. It really does take away, I think, an element of you actually sitting down and typing it out, and it forces you to actually like be conscious of what you're writing. And it's a slippery slope where eventually you'll just be pressing tab to autocomplete everything.
Oh yeah.
And then you'll be like, yeah, I'm sure this is right. And then yeah, I don't recommend it. I think you'll be shooting yourself in the foot for sure.
I agree because if you just click, accept everything. If something went wrong, it's hard for you to find.
Oh yeah, and something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, I can imagine that because when something's kind of like black box for you.
Yeah.
Right. If everything goes well. But as time went by, we build something bigger and bigger. The whole thing become more complex.
Yeah.
It's hard to, right? If just 1%, it's hide in the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I can imagine it will be some issue. So I think that I think it makes sense to practice if you want to become a programmer. It makes sense.
I think you got to go at least a year, probably 2 years of absolutely no AI.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have a lot to say about AI and learning.
So let's go to the next topic.